Sure.
Okay, so as always, I'd like to begin by asking how many of these typing sessions have you seen before?
I've seen a number.
Okay, alright. So, I will try to deviate from my norms and or throw some curveballs here, okay?
Sure.
Uh, which disease do you associate with grapefruit?
Grapefruit? Was there a disease? I remember there's some conditions or medications you're not supposed to eat grapefruit with, but I don't remember what those are.
Okay. Can you relate to me a personal experience from your life involving grapefruit?
Uh, I think my parents sometimes eat it, but I personally don't care for it.
Okay. Can you think of 6 uses for a grapefruit besides eating it?
Uh, Grapefruit. I remember it's kind of big. Uh, Paperweight? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how you can come up with six uses for
Okay. Well, lawn bowling,
it.
hat, round hat.
How would wouldn't it roll off your head?
Well, that's assuming you have a round head. If you have a concave head like this, it'll just fit perfectly in there.
I imagine it would.
Okay. If I have, if there are 6 tortoises in a bustle, and bustles of tortoises equal a pod, how many tortoises are in a bustle and a pod?
Can you repeat that?
If there are 6 tortoises in a bustle and
Uh-huh.
3 bustles in a pod, how many total tortoises are there in one bustle and one pod?
Mm, how many tortoises did you have to begin with?
Well, you got 6 tortoises in a bustle and 3 bustles in a pod.
So if you had,
And you have one bustle and one pod's worth of tortoises. How many is that?
oh, okay. So a bustle is six tortoises. So that would be six tortoises right there. A pod is again three bustles, right?
3 bustles.
And that is six tortoises. So that would be 18. So 6 plus 18 is 24.
Correct. Okay. If you are asked to go to a staff meeting for something, you know, either
Hmm.
either in some form of in some capacity, whether it's a work capacity or as a client capacity, not really a client capacity, but like a stakeholder community member or whatever. Um, can you leave that cracked a little bit?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Are you more likely to be concerned about whether, like, what's your biggest concern going in, not knowing anything about the nature of the meeting?
Hmm. Not knowing anything about the nature of the meeting,
Except
but
that
my
there is a group of people involved.
yeah. Uh, I don't know if I would have any concerns because I wouldn't know anything to be concerned about. I just go in and I guess try to figure out what they're talking about and then think about it, I guess.
Now let's say you've been you know that they're going to assess your suitability for something, but you don't know
Hmm.
what that thing is that they're assessing your suitability for.
Hmm.
Now what's your primary concern?
So it's like a secret test. Um, Probably, I would probably just try to act in the most ethical, most competent manner as I can. You
Oh,
know, I would just try to do as best I can and let it sort itself out.
okay, can you talk to me a little bit regarding what you understand as being ethical and unethical?
Sure, ethical means uh you don't you generally act well, you don't lie, you're completely honest, you follow the rules to the letter, um, even if you normally don't. That kind of thing. That way, when people are looking back, they don't see any reason to blame you.
Okay. So what's worse, to lie or to steal? Like, let's say you have a friend who
Hmm.
regularly lies to you, or o- occasionally steals something from various places, but you never quite catch him.
Hmm.
In both
But
cases, you never quite catch him, but you're strongly aware of the fact that your friend is regularly lying to you, or your friend is regularly stealing, but not from you. Actually, let's make it in both cases. If your friend regularly lies to other people, or your
hmm
friend regularly steals little things. You've never actually caught him explicitly in the act, but you just know he's doing this because you've got sort of lots of a strong circumstantial case in both instances.
well, I would say that in both instances, the friend is lying. But in the second case, he's like actively hurting you too.
He's only
So I'll
lying
probably
if he
say,
denies it when he's asked if he stole something.
so if you confront him, he'll tell the truth.
Right, but you haven't confronted him yet because you've never actually caught him.
Hmm. But I don't know that because if I've never asked him that, I don't know for certain if he would tell the truth or not.
Well, this omniscient narrator is telling you that that
You
that
mean the voice in the head?
that he either he always he always tells the truth, but he very frequently steals, or he never steals, but he very frequently tells the truth.
Okay.
I mean, very frequently lies. Sorry.
Yeah, this is kind of difficult for me because in some of the jobs I've worked on, they've mentioned how mistakes aren't really so much of a problem as long as you're truthful about it. So because of that, I might lean toward the latter,
Okay.
but mistakes are a little bit different from like bad behavior like stealing. So,
So if a person comes to you is getting close to you, and they make clear to you they have a very strong loyalty ethic towards you, but
mhm.
they're rather Machiavellian towards the rest of the world. Are you going to trust them or distrust them?
Mm. Well, it could have all just been a front.
Okay. Do you trust your own instincts as to whether it was a front?
I think so. I
Okay.
probably would trust him then.
Okay. I'd like to do have you demonstrate some SI in the typical way. Now that can either be for today or yesterday or last time you went to a restaurant or something. For example, if you I don't know where you are as far as COVID goes and how much access you have to restaurants, but if you've been to a restaurant in last couple of weeks, if you could articulate like, oh well, we had to wait for a little while, but then we got a table, and Joey dropped his fork and he had to pick it up, and then we had to get the waitress to get us a new one, something like that.
Hmm.
Can you do that for me?
I haven't been to a restaurant. I live in California, like
Oh,
you.
so you're
You're
fucked
pretty
too.
locked down.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, how about have you been? You've surely been to the grocery store recently. That's the only
Uh-huh.
place people can go. So,
Right, right, exactly.
can you talk to me about your last grocery store visit?
Sure. At the last grocery store visit, uh, I think I got some bananas. I got, what else did I get? I got some peanut butter. I didn't get a whole lot of stuff. But I got like peanut butter, sausages, things like that.
Do you remember engaging with the cashier?
Uh, a little bit. Yes, she was very friendly.
Okay. All right, cool. So let's try some. Let's try some extrovert thinking stuff here. I'd like you to um, come up with a plan to uh, increase, decrease water usage or increase water efficiency in California without imposing any uh, without imposing any water usage restrictions by consumers.
To increase efficiency of water usage. Like
Let me define
making
that
people not
as
waste
let me
water. Huh?
define that as to reduce the likelihood of being harmed by a drought.
Sure. Um, well, I remember that we had a campaign about the use of power where you're not supposed to use it between like you're supposed to minimize the use of power between like 5 and 8 or something like that.
Okay.
But it's here in Sacramento because we have our own separate little power company. Um, so I'm guessing that maybe a campaign similar to that would be effective.
Okay. And what hours of the day would you just prevent people from using water during the daytimes because it evaporates faster, or what?
Uh, no, because people are obviously going to need to drink water and stuff. But I was thinking
Who
of,
drinks tap water? Really? Does
I do,
anybody? You do?
uh,
Congratulations. I do occasionally, but it it is like I will be dying of thirst if I'm out of sodas and or other beverages. I will be
mm.
dying of thirst and just go like, well, I guess I got. There's still coffee. I guess I got to drink coffee again instead of just drinking some tap water. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Well, I guess I would just, just have a campaign mentioning like if you're brushing your teeth, go ahead and turn the water off until you're done brushing and then turn it back on. You know,
Okay, so public service announcements.
yeah, public service announcements.
What do you think about the idea of building a pipe that pumps seawater to everybody's house?
Seawater. Seawater. Does it come out like as salt water?
Yep.
I'd be opposed to that because you'd have to filter out the salt.
Well, you don't have to use the seawater that comes to your house.
So is it seawater in addition to normal tap water, or is
Yeah,
it just
it's a you're just adding a pipe. You're just adding one pipe to everybody's house that has seawater come out of it.
I'm not sure about that, but I remember that seawater is usually very good for like sores and stuff. So maybe encouraging people to use it like in the shower or something like that. I don't know.
You know what I think would happen?
What?
Because the seawater would be basically free. Okay,
Uh,
is that there'd be a market that would rise up of miniature desalination plants that people could buy for their house to get
mm.
off the grid as far as the water company for fresh water. And in fact, if they generated enough of it, then they could sell water back to the water company.
True. So the water company would probably lose money.
Well, I mean, but everybody then we'd have shit tons of water, right? If a lot of people started doing that in California, like if everybody had a pipe of seawater to their house, and everybody started, and there'd be like companies would come up with like, your house's desalinator, and then all of a sudden we wouldn't have any more drought problems. I could just run my hose from my house near the Salton Sea into the Salton Sea and fill it up again with fresh water.
Um,
Okay, anyway, sorry I got a little sidetracked there.
that's an interesting plan.
Um, how many different synonyms can you think of for the word uh, fervent?
Fervent. Fervent. It's like fanatical, right?
Yeah.
Frenzied, maybe?
Okay.
Uh,
I think zealous is probably the best thing.
Zealous. Okay.
Okay, so if can you please put into exactly 8 steps the process of getting a new pair of glasses from the optometrist?
Sure. And I definitely need them. Um, so basically, first make the vision appointment, and then you go to the optometrist, and then they like do your eyes, they check them. And then you get the prescription from them, and then you take it to the glasses place, and then I'm not sure if this will come out to 8 steps, but you just take it in, you look at a new pair of glasses, you look at the different lenses, you know.
Okay, okay. So let's try another one of these ideas.
Sure.
Can you explain to me how to make toast in exactly 6 steps? Exactly 6 steps.
Uh, exactly 6 steps. Um, I guess step one, you get the bread. Step two, you set up the toaster. Step three, you set the toaster, to how brown you want it. So that was
How does step 2 differ from step 3?
uh, it's not, is it? Because it's part of setting up the. I guess I meant
I
get
get
out
it.
the toaster,
Yeah, if you set a
pick it up.
cabinet, then you got to take it down and plug it in.
Right.
All right. But if it's on the counter, then you don't, because it depends on where your toaster is. Okay, so let's say take it down and put it in, plug it in step 2. Set the brown in step 3. Go ahead.
Sure. And then you would put the bread in step 4 and press down. Step 5, you would wait for it to pop out. Step 6, you would get the toast back out and put it on the plate. I guess that's 6 steps.
Okay, good. Let's talk about your values. So without any multiple choiciness, what values do you think are underweighted overall by society? Let's start there. They should be They should be taken more seriously, but aren't. Can you think of any values that meet that criterion?
Sure. I'd say one big value would probably be being a bit more truthful. I remember reading that a lot of foreigners think that Americans smile too much, and that often they can't really be honest, even with friends, about like how situations really are, or whether the friend really screwed up, that kind of thing. So I'm guessing maybe a kind of truthfulness, honesty might be one thing that society kind of undervalues in favor of,
Smooth
looking good.
operations
Huh?
in favor of smooth operation.
Right, in favor of smooth operation.
Okay. And what value would you self-identify as yourself undervaluing?
Hmm, that's a good question. Um, so truthfulness versus smooth operation.
But I mean, there's lots of other things you could name as a value. It doesn't have to be anything that's associated with cognitive functions. Even you could say, I value winning lacrosse. I don't know. Or I
Okay.
should value that more. I should value winning at my lacrosse games more, or something. I don't know.
Okay. Um, well, I could probably value the smooth operation more. Like I had a job interview recently that didn't go well. I had to make a presentation, but I don't know how to make the presentation very well. Like I had everything in it that was needed to be there, but they're like, your presentation doesn't look very good.
I see. Um, did you have prep time?
I did.
Okay. And do you think you spoke well?
I think I did,
So it was just the visuals that weren't very good.
apparently.
Okay. Um, and what value do you think that correlates with?
The smooth operation, I
Smooth
guess.
operation. Huh? Okay. Um, and what value do you think is overvalued by society, and which one do you think is overvalued by you?
Sure. Um, I'm guessing what's overvalued by society might be the Protestant work ethic. I mean, it's obviously good to have a work ethic, but I sometimes think it kind of gets overvalued to the point where, for example, it's often used as an excuse not to expand healthcare, things like that. I don't know your views on that, but because it's like, well, if they work hard and just get a good job, then they get healthcare. If not, then they're just lazy. That kind of thinking. And
I don't know if anybody's actually making that argument, but it's fine.
or that's something like that. And then what I guess I overvalue is I guess I like to get in there and just get things done with. And I don't like to sit and linger on, especially something I really, really hate. So I guess sometimes I can perhaps not completely do everything that I'm supposed to be doing.
So you kind of
I try
half-ass
to,
shit sometimes.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, who doesn't half-ass stuff sometimes? Okay. So if you were to be critiqued in a way that's going to bother you a great deal, is it going to be uh, that a certain you're not observing what a certain singular truth tells you, or you're not doing the smooth operator thing well enough?
Mm, could you repeat the question? I don't get it.
Okay, so like, let's say I really disagree with you about some decision that you've made or
Mhm,
some behavior that you've engaged in. Like, let's say, in one instance, you are quite certain about your position on something, and
mhm.
you and I have been friends for a long time, but we're gonna have a falling out on this. And I'm saying, listen, here's the single truth that I keep telling you, and you keep ignoring, and this means meow 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 meow. Okay, this single truth is the single way. Anything to the contrary of this is you just indulging in your subjectivism. That's one kind of critique. The other kind of critique is, Eric, I cannot take you anywhere. I take you places and you embarrass me with your awkwardness. Which one of those critiques hurts more?
Uh, Perhaps the second one.
Okay. Um, okay. Uh, let's try some TI questions.
Sure.
If some pennies are copper and all copper things are wire, does that mean that some pennies are wire?
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry. I
It's
know.
no problem. If some pennies are copper and
Okay.
all copper things are wire, can we conclude that some pennies are wire?
Yes, even though it doesn't have any real basis in real life, if you look at the premises
Yes.
and
Right.
follow it to the conclusion, it is valid.
Okay. Can you tell me who my father's wife's only daughter is in relation to me?
Father's wife's only daughter. So father's wife. So that would be mother or
Now,
stepmother.
assume everybody has only one marriage and there are no bastard children.
So that would be your sister, right?
Correct. Okay. How about only people from New Zealand play with kiwi birds, I am playing with a kiwi bird. Can you conclude that I'm necessarily from New Zealand?
Yes, because only people from New Zealand play with kiwi birds.
Okay, let's try a couple of missing generalizations. Uh, if you don't, if you aren't familiar with the drill, just to refresh your memory, the example is I'll say, "You can't come in here. You don't have a hat on." And the missing generalization is only people with hats can come in here.
Hmm.
Okay, so here's the one for you. They must enjoy BLTs. They're from Mexico.
They must enjoy BLTs. They're from Mexico. All people from Mexico enjoy BLTs.
Correct. Okay. Let me try some Inky Pinkies.
I have
So,
no idea what that is.
okay, I will give you two examples first. So, the thing
Sure.
is, I'm going to give you a clue. Each word or phrase in the clue refers to one of two words in the answer. So, for example, hilltop waterspout is an inky pinky, which means each word in the answer has two syllables, and it's mountain fountain. That's the answer. Because mountain fountain means hilltop waterspout, but mountain fountain rhymes and has two syllables each, so it's an inky pinky. Here's another example. I'll give you the clue roadway flesh and say it's an ink pink. That means each word in the answer is one syllable.
So
And
roadside flesh, like in skin?
roadway, yeah, roadway flesh. And
Roadway flesh. Uh, uh, so I'm supposed to find two synonyms that rhyme with each other.
yeah, in this case it's ink pink. This is the other example I normally give. It's street meat.
Oh, okay, okay.
Roadway flesh, street meat. Okay, so let's try sunrise yard, ink pink.
Sunrise yard. Dawn lawn?
Correct. Okay, how about um uh let's a a so this is uh, a strong body parts uh, soft noise making, and it's an inky pinky. So strong body parts soft noise making.
Strong body parts, soft noise making. It doesn't even make any sense to me.
It's a muscle rustle.
Oh, okay, okay.
All right, let's try. That was kind of a iffy one. Let me try it, see if I can come up with a better one. Okay. A, um, hmm. Okay, so how about Sorry, I'm drawing. My NE is failing me. Just give me a second here.
Sure.
Okay, so it's an alert that daytime is here, and it's an inky pinky.
An alert that daytime is here. Uh, They say? I don't know.
It's a morning.
Morning, morning. Uh,
It's an alert that day is here. It's a morning, right?
well, they're like an alarm clock, but that isn't rhyme.
No, it's a morning is the answer. It's a warning that morning is coming. It's a
Oh,
morning.
morning, warning. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, it's a morning. Okay, one last one of these to just be thorough here. This
Sure.
is a difficulty faced in a difficulty faced relating to a fort, and it's an inky pinky.
A fort, like military.
Well, it's a difficulty faced relating to a keep.
Okay. Um.
It's an inky pinky, which means two syllables each in the answer.
Defense, offense. I don't know.
It's a castle hassle.
Oh, okay, okay. I would never would have thought of that.
Okay, cool. Let's try. I want to give you a couple of rat test questions. Have you seen people take the rat test before? It's the random associations test. Have you seen anybody take this test before?
Maybe I've heard of it.
Okay. Um, so if you recognize the questions, let me know, and I'll go scroll down to a part that's different that you won't
Sure.
recognize. So the idea here is one word goes with all three: cottage cheese, Swiss cheese, cheesecake. So the word can go either before or after, and the answer here is cheese. See? How about cream, skate, water?
Cream, skate, water. Um, Cream, skate, water, ice.
Correct. Loser, throat, spot.
Loser, throat, spot. Sore,
Correct. Show life, row.
show life, row. Hmm. I would say time, but I don't think that really goes with row. Um,
For most people, if you don't get it in about 5 seconds, you're not going to get it. It's both in this instance. How about night wrist stop? Try going through them fast and see how quickly you can get them. Just I won't read them. You read them out loud and tell me if you get the answer. If you don't, just say pass after like 5 seconds and see how many you get. Okay?
sure. So night wrist stop. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure.
Pass. Okay, that's watch.
Duck, fold, dollar. That's fold, right?
Yeah.
Duck, fold, dollar. Sorry, I've got kind of a weird computer setup here.
Hey,
So
let me
duck,
make it bigger.
fold, dollar. Thank you.
Mhm.
Duck, fold, dollar. One,
Bill. Rocking wheel high.
rocking wheel high. Uh, Pass. I don't know.
Okay. Do comb B.
Do comb B. I don't know this one either. Pass.
Fountain baking pop.
Fountain baking pop. Uh, Soda?
Yes, correct. Let's try a couple of these easy ones here. Aid rubber wagon, flake mobile cone. These labels are not very accurate necessarily, I don't think, but
Rubber wagon would probably be banned.
correct. Flake mobile cone.
Snow?
Correct. Safety cushion point.
Pen?
Good. Let's try a couple of mediums. Sense courtesy place. No one ever gets this one.
Common?
Yes, good job.
Okay.
Flower friend scout.
Flower friend scout. Girl?
Yep. Okay, let's try a couple of hard ones. Stick maker point.
Stick maker point. Uh, Pass. I don't know.
Huh. Match.
Oh, match. Okay, okay.
How about dust cereal fish?
Dust, cereal, fish. Uh, there's a word that goes with all three.
Mm-hmm. It's bowl. Okay, cool. Um,
Ooh, okay, okay.
so now I'd like to ask you to create a scenario to explain something. Here's the situation. You've come home and you've found that there's no sign of entry or whatever. Your door's locked and everything. But you walk in the kitchen and there are 3 dead chickens nailed to your wall, feathers and everything, with a nail through each of their heads.
Ooh.
And in the bathroom, there is a picture of a chicken that has been. I mean, it's interesting. It looks like your mirror has been replaced with one that has built into it a chicken hologram of a chicken. A hologram. It looks like a hologram. It's kind of like when you look in the mirror, you can kind of see vaguely 3D in the background of the chicken, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Those are all the details you have. Oh, and it's Thursday afternoon.
So I had just come home maybe from being on an errand or something, like to the grocery store.
Well, you've been gone for about 2 hours, yeah.
And then I come home and this is what I see.
Yeah. There's
And there's
no
no sign of a
sign,
break-in.
any entry or break-in or anything.
I'd probably have to wonder if someone else with the key to the house did that. That would probably be my first thought. And then, so I guess I would go and ask them.
But I want you to create a scenario right now. You've been Sherlock Holmes. The Sherlock Holmes game show has arrived at your house
So like a
because
detective thing.
they've received news from the neighbors. News travels really fast. You were like, I can't believe this shit happened, and all of a sudden they were like on the scene, like, hey, we do this show called Sherlock Holmes. You come up with a theory to your own crime, and then if you get it right, you win $1 million.
Oh, okay, okay. So 3 dead chickens, or was that chicken skeletons?
No, it was chickens, feathers and all. Now keep in mind, the game show didn't set this up. They're ambulance chasers, so to speak. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
And then a hologram in the mirror. Somebody seems to be really obsessed with chickens.
mhm. Plus, it's Thursday afternoon. Don't forget.
Right. So,
What happened? Explain it to me.
a serial killer somehow got my key and he's really obsessed with chickens. And that's like his ritual before he goes in there and kills you. I don't know. I wouldn't want to remain in that house.
So you'd say, you wouldn't say, well, once I take the chickens down, I'm sure it'll be perfectly safe to spend the night here.
No.
Okay. All right. Fine. If I have a floppy hat, a burrow, and a pan, what might I be doing?
A floppy hat, a thorn row,
A burrow,
a burrow, and a hat.
a pan. A floppy hat, a burrow, and a pan.
Burrow. Burrow.
Burro. Like an ass or a donkey.
A floppy hat, a burrow, and a pan.
Yeah, PAN. Come on in, Dad.
Uh,
Hold on one second, sir. I'm with a client right now. For another half an hour or so, probably.
Okay.
I'll come talk to you later. Thanks. Sorry about that.
sure. So I guess maybe I remember there's something like this in an episode of The Simpsons where where Marge ran off with this woman, and she was like kind of rebellious and kind of getting Marge to being rebellious too, and like the cops were like following them, and they were cooking something on their engine because it had overheated. They're cooking game. So I'm guessing they're maybe in Mexico. It's really hot, and they're cooking food or something.
No, he's going to go pan for gold. Panning for gold is the correct answer.
Oh, okay, okay.
Name a person with a big ass and no talent.
With a big ass and no talent. Um, let's see. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess there are lots of airheads and stuff in in the entertainment business. So,
Well,
but
who's a celebrity you think of as having no talent?
celebrity with no talent. Um, I don't know. I don't think of any celebrity as having no talent because, in my view, if they made it that far, they probably have some sort of talent.
The correct answer was Kim Kardashian,
Oh,
or Jennifer Lopez. Either one.
okay.
Um, I hypothesized the other day that if you ask that question to 100 people on a Family Feud, name a person with a big ass and no talent, that 98 people would say either J Lo or Kim Kardashian. But you proved that I have probably overestimated that. Okay. How do you feel right now?
uh, guess I feel fine. I guess I think I'm a little anxious, and I'm a bit thirsty. That's about it. Actually, do you mind if I got up and got some water real
Go
quick?
take your time.
Thank you. Let me take this jacket off too. Oh. Weather's been kind of weird lately because it's been kind of cold here in Sacramento, but it's kind of warmed up a little bit. So,
It's cold down here too.
what part you live like in LA?
Yeah, I live on the east side of LA, so it's like you may have heard of the Santa Anita racetrack where they have horse races. Like they have the Breeders' Cup there sometimes. It's like kind of like the Belmont of the West Coast or the Kentucky Derby of the West Coast. I mean, like the Churchill Downs of the West Coast or whatever. Santa Anita racetrack is very near my house. That's where I live, basically in Arcadia.
Okay, I haven't heard of it, but okay.
Okay.
Arcadia, I've heard of that.
It's where they had the equestrian events in the 1984 Olympics. Come on, we're famous.
I was born that year.
It's also where Japanese internment camp destination people were briefly housed
Oh, wow.
on their way from San Diego up to Manzanar. Anyway, regardless of all that, Arcadia's colorful history notwithstanding, um, so how do you think I feel right now?
Um, like you're doing a job, but I guess you feel kind of good. You seem to be on something of a roll, so I guess you feel kind of good.
Okay. Which question is easier for you to answer? How do you feel right now or how I feel right now?
Uh, yeah, I'm not very good when people ask me how I feel. I'm like, I guess I feel okay. So probably asking how other people feel works better.
Okay. Um, if two people are about to start to date, do you have an opinion about whether they're good for each other, whether they're going to work out? I thought about like, these two are going to break up, or what, I think this is going to last. Do you ever thought about that early on, or do you have a wait and see attitude and then determine it later on?
Mm, I probably have like a wait and see attitude. I don't usually form strong opinions about that. It's their life, so I
Okay.
don't really have an opinion on that.
Um, What if somebody who you valued was you thought making a really bad decision? Would you try to talk to them about that and say like, don't make this bad decision, or would you?
Yes, I would.
You would. Okay.
Yeah, because if they're like screwing up their lives or something like that, and I value them, I don't want to see them destroy themselves. I definitely
Look, I've
try to.
done the research, and I'm pretty sure starting a crack habit is a good idea.
Sure. Okay.
So you wouldn't talk to somebody about that if they came to you and they said, "I want to start a crack habit. I've done some research. I think the harms of it are overblown. It sounds like it's going to be a pep-inducing kind of energy provider for me, and I'd like to start smoking crack."
I would say I would not recommend it. You could go to jail. You could, if not that, even if it were legal, you can get addicted. It can mess you up at work if you're not careful with it. It's probably not a good idea, and you probably shouldn't do that. I really value our friendship, and I don't want to see you throw your life away like that.
Look, they used to say that stuff about marijuana, and there's some states where they legalized that stuff, and it turns out it wasn't that bad. I'm thinking probably the same thing's true of crack.
If I recall, the big time research was one that marijuana never has killed anybody directly. And two, marijuana is either way much less severe. It's actually probably closer to like tobacco. In fact, it's better than tobacco in some ways, but crack has generally been shown to be a pretty bad habit and to have pretty bad health effects.
Okay. Um, so when you express yourself, what medium do you feel most comfortable expressing yourself in? It could be anything from drawing to writing to singing to in the shower to dancing to um, writing a screenplay to anything. What medium do you find yourself comfortable expressing yourself in, if any?
Sure. Probably dancing.
Okay. So do you listen to a lot of music?
I do. And I love to dance to it.
Can you talk to me about some music that you like that I might be familiar with?
Um, okay. I'm kind of weird in this habit. I grew up playing lots of video games, so I've actually liked a lot of video game music.
Okay.
So I don't think that's that's a habit that most people have.
So you like listen to like the opening song from Mario Kart or something like that?
Yeah, stuff like or like Final Fantasy, things like that. I don't know if you've heard of Final Fantasy.
I've heard of it.
Okay.
You know, the other day, Rachel and I were watching a video of somebody playing through Parappa the Rappa. You ever heard of that game?
Parappa the Rappa. I have not.
It's like they there's a rapper guy. He goes like, we're driving straight. Now turn to the left. Now turn to the left. Now turn to the right. Now turn to the right. Now to the ball round. Now to the ball round. And then you have to follow the instructions. But then there's other ones where when you push the buttons, you have to push it in time so that your guy copies the other guy's raps. Anyway,
Oh, okay.
so I was listening to some video game music the other day too, really, but it wasn't for exactly that purpose. All right, so do you like any like are you familiar with pop songs like say "All the Single Ladies" by Beyonce and "Call Me Maybe" by Carly Rae Jepsen? Are you familiar with those two songs? They're both very famous. No?
No. I stopped updating my music like pop music maybe for the most part early 2000s maybe.
Okay. So what's the last pop music you recall?
Uh Last pop music that you recall. Uh well, I remember that Matchbox 20 and Carlos Santana had that thing where they got together
Uh huh. What do you
and
think?
made youth.
What did you think about that song?
I really liked it. I thought it was a very good song. It was just very dramatic, very, I think it was in minor key or something like that. And it was just a very fun song to listen to.
Do you?
And I remember that the album version versus the music video was actually a little bit longer. There's a whole guitar section in the CD that wasn't in the music video, and I really like that section too.
Okay. Um, do you play music?
Uh, I've done it in the past, but not recently. I had taken a class, but then one time I really screwed up, and I just haven't been really confident about it since.
Okay. Okay. Do you
It was
s-
a, you know,
do you sing along with stuff, or hum along with it, or whistle along with it, or anything like that when you're listening
yes.
to it? Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's let's talk a little bit more about values. These. So okay. Well, let me pause here and tell you what I'm thinking, and also what I what you perceive as Mira Mira. So, can you talk to me about your own understanding of FI and FE for a moment?
Sure. I know it's so confusing because there's so many different definitions out there. And I'm sure that they're not all compatible with each other. And
No,
if you
they're
go to
not.
different sites, you get completely different answers.
Hmm.
Um, but FI, I think it's supposed to be about looking more at the internal emotional experience, how you feel about something, what you find important, and respecting it in other people, even if you don't necessarily agree with it. While FE is about building a more shared emotional atmosphere, shared values, teamwork, that kind of thing.
Okay. Um, and do you know the physical sensations of, say, feeling like you're about to cry?
Yes,
Can you describe the physical sensation to me?
sure. You kind of get all teared up. Your like the upper part of your face kind of tenses up a bit, and um, and that I guess would be it.
What about a lump in
More
your
detail,
throat? Don't you get a lump in your throat?
uh, I don't think so.
Huh. Okay, interesting. Um, so, how useful is how you feel to understanding what you want to do? Do you know what you want to do in general?
Yeah, I guess like, are you talking about like long term or medium term or short term or something?
Well, how frequently do you find yourself going, I don't know what I want to do right now?
Mm, I'll do that sometimes, definitely.
Okay.
And then I just kind of sit there, not wanting. But once I want to do something, I usually get up and do it.
Okay. What kind of things do you find yourself wanting to do?
Uh, let's see. Maybe going to the grocery store to get something to eat, listen to some music,
Okay.
maybe chatting online.
Okay.
Um, nowadays, or calling somebody on the phone, something like that.
Okay. And do you feel so? All right. So, how do you feel about your? Don't tell me what type you think you are, but how are you confused currently about your type? Do you have a type you think you are coming into this, or are you? Do you feel confident you know what it is, or you don't know what it is, or give me some of the background here.
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I've been typed by you in the past. And I think it's a good type. I won't say it.
Okay.
And
It's funny. I don't remember you at all, but I think you're an ISFP.
ISFP.
That's what I
Okay.
think. What did I type you as last time?
ISTP.
Oh, okay. Well,
But ISFP, I can kind of identify with ISFP. But I've had people type me as like, for some reason, a lot of people want to type me as ENFP for some reason. But I never identified very well with the NE.
no, you're any polar for sure. You're
Yeah,
the thing is, both those typings are me typing you as any polar,
yeah,
ISTP, ISFP. So, and I shit you not. It has. I did not remember you at all.
right. I understand. That's actually a good observation because I've read descriptions of NE, and I don't know, but whenever people type me as like an NE Dom, I get really frustrated by it for some reason. Because I'm like looking at NE and I'm like, what is this?
It
They're
means
like,
the people who type you that has no clue at all what extroverted intuition is. They have no concept of it. Um, yeah, I don't know how long ago what I typed to you, but I don't think your TI is first slot. I think it's eighth, and I I expect it. I'm kind of glad to hear what you tell me here that I typed you before ISTP because I was kind of expecting you to think that you were an INFJ and me have to argue with you about this and say
jail, right?
no, you're not an INFJ. And I think you're ISFP. I'm pretty sure. Um, oh, this right? Yeah, gotcha. Sorry, Rachel wanted the lighter. So, yeah,
But
I think that's the best typing for you. How long ago was it that I typed you?
like a couple of years ago, but to be honest, at the time I was kind of uncertain about the TI part, and I was like, TI. I mean, I don't seem too bad at it, but I didn't quite identify it with a whole lot. But I actually like the ISFP typing though. I'd actually been thinking that for a while, but nobody would type me as that. So
I mean, I don't know why I typed you ISTP last time. That was 2 years ago. Was why. There's in the within it's like I have a much clearer sense of what TI eighth looks like than I used to. I guess maybe I'm better
mhm.
at testing it or something. But yeah, you seem fairly textbook ISFP. And in fact, uh, I just the most normally I would have gotten to the type of you sooner, except for my own extroverted feeling smooth operator thing, which is I have a feeling this lady thinks she's INFJ, and so I wanted to meow the meow, you know. But I wanted to make sure I had plenty of stuff to say when challenged on it. But yeah,
Sure.
I think if are you cool? I don't know if you're cool with me publishing this or not, but if you are, I think most people will
I am.
agree that you're an ISFP.
Okay. Yeah, you go ahead and publish it. I agree with that typing. But just for the cheap seats, could you explain why I am
Sure.
any color, you think?
Okay, so there's any test I gave you from Inky Pinky to the synonym test. Well, I guess those are the main two ones I gave you. Uh, Inky Pinky suggested polar. That's how any polar deals. They struggle with it a great deal. And when I ask you for synonym, you find the best synonym that you can think of, and then that's the synonym you give me. And you're not giving me even if I ask for five synonyms. When I ask for a scenario for something, you
Hmm.
go for the only scenario that makes any sense at all. It kind of links. Well, you've got dead animals nailed to your walls. Brings to mind serial killer. Who knows? I guess they're setting up my house to serial kill me or something. Um, so the then the TE when I said 8 steps, you got kind of well 8ish is fine. I said no, 6 steps though. You were able to do it. That sounds like fourth slot TE. Uh,
Okay.
as far as the dominant function of FI, well, your valuings of I guess like well okay so you're susceptible you feel more vulnerable about being creeped about being awkward suggests it's an absolute value. However, the way I asked that question, um, the technically your answer would have suggested would be more suggestive of FE eighth than fifth, but I think that the reason is because I asked the question badly, and I gave you a meaningful example on one side and just a description of the thing on the other side, and so I'm interpreting that answer to mean that it's just because I'm critiquing an absolute value. Normally, people are most sensitive about the eighth slot function. So, for example, I'm most susceptible to being critiqued or get most annoyed by critiques of my inability to follow through on things, or that you said earlier you were going to do this, and I have to do it now. But you expressed that you'd feel more sort of affected in some way by a critique of your social grace. Now, in the same way, I would, when I think about it, I'd feel more. If you asked me that question about SE or NI, I'd probably answer, well, I'd feel worse about being critiqued on my refusal to acknowledge the truth in some way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think even when I asked that question, it was a bad question or something. I just did poor. There was a question I hadn't really asked before. I was thinking it was one way, but then by the time I was done asking it, I was thinking it was another way. Anyway, I got sidetracked there.
Sure.
Uh, so
And
go ahead. Sorry.
if I may, did I show insecurity about TI?
No, that's not why I put you eighth. That one I don't need to use any kind of valued slot.
Okay.
Because in this instance, it could be third, fourth, eighth, possibly even sixth. But the point is, with extroverted intuition, clearly polar, and clearly not dominant, that really only leaves you one possible type to be, which is ISFP.
Okay. And then going back to NE, when I watch your videos, I'm kind of confused. You sometimes mention as people as being, I guess, ideationally fluid or ideationally dead or something like that. What exactly does that mean? And could you give an example of what it means to be ideationally fluid?
Okay, so um,
I've always been confused about that.
well, it makes sense that you would be confused about it if it's your polar, right? Because people are oddly not just yeah. Anyway, so an example is I coached an ISTP in interviewing one time for a stretch of time, and
Hmm.
I've also coached ENTPs and not really exactly the same thing, but sort of similar sort of things. Uh, the ISTP, I'd say, so tell me a little bit about yourself, and he'd have kind of a prepared answer that was, well, I work hard at school and I have this side business that I'm trying to start on my own, and
Hmm.
I've done a lot of work to get into your college or university, basically.
Hmm.
Now, if you ask, once you start pressing on him, so tell me what genuinely makes you happy. Say, well, I really feel a great deal. He has an answer prepared, okay, like, and it's that he's prepared and said, well, what really makes me feel happy is to just get outside and turn on some music and just start dancing. This is a lie that he's come up with, but he's just trying to generate some stuff that's going to sound good to the interviewer, okay?
Right, right. I know how he feels.
And I'm just like, how am I going to work with this person? Now, if you ask an ENTP those questions, what makes you genuinely happy? Well, the fact that you ask me an open-ended question, that makes me genuinely happy because I can go really anywhere with this. I like being able to have an opportunity to answer stuff like this on the fly and demonstrate to you how ideationally fluid I am. That means while I'm answering this question, I'm probably going to use some big words, do some fancy talk, gesture a lot, be emotionally engaging, and try to convince you that, hell yeah, this is the guy we want to hire. Or something. It's like that.
Right.
That's the difference between ideational fluidity and the absence thereof. Most people have some. Most people find that they're not on the fly ready enough for life. Like in other words, they wish they could have thought faster in the moment. ENTPs are the same way, except we collect those occasions for our entire lives until they almost never happen to us anymore, because we're always trying to keep track of every possible way in which we got burned by words at some point in the past so that it never happens again. So in that sense, we got to try to come up with and keep track of all the different ways that people respond to everything all the time.
Hmm. Okay, but people might respond different ways depending on the context, though.
That's true. So what I'm saying basically is this applies primarily to places or topics or areas of conversation that are TI heavy. Meaning, like, I know all the different possible arguments for and against carbon emissions reductions, unilateral carbon emission reductions, as a policy advocacy by the U.S. Okay, I know all the various arguments that people might make for and against, and
Mm-hmm.
even if I hear something that I've not exactly heard that exact thing before, it'll fit into a class or a category of answer that I've heard before, and I'll know what to do with it. So in that regards, um, I, I, it's kind of the whole focus of at least my life to some extent. A lot of the time, I get sick of it, but it's just how I am. I'm constantly trying to not get caught by surprise in words. If you think about the prime directive as being, we want to close the gap between map and territory. You want to constantly, you feel most confident not being surprised about who you are, what matters to you, what's important, and that you can do and will do what's important to you. And you feel most gratified as an ISFP by seeing the clear singular path with the most relevance and impact, and most linkage to the ontology. And you feel additionally a great deal of satisfaction when you're liked and perceived well and thought by others to be how that you want them to perceive you, but it's something you assume you succeed at independently of trying. And then when you don't succeed at it and get critiqued at it, you're like, oh shit, I messed up.
Yeah.
Because you leave that on autopilot. You assume my extroverted feeling is going to be fine. People are going to perceive me as likable, warm, kind, good,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully competent. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So most people in general, you can say the T types expect themselves to be perceived as competent and hope to be perceived as warm. The F types generally expect themselves to be perceived as warm and hope to be perceived as competent.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I know I'm usually perceived as being warm, so okay.
Okay.
That makes, but before you go, can you give an example of a paragraph that is ideationally fluid and explain why it is? Um,
Okay. So
I'm sorry if I'm harping on this, but I've always been wondering this because it's never explained.
a paragraph that's ideationally fluid. Well, see,
Yeah.
here's the thing. People are ideationally fluid. Works aren't really. In fact, if a work is too ideationally fluid, then it's probably runny, which means you don't want to have anything to do with it. Runny stuff is stuff that's just a bunch of NE, unconstrained by a single thesis or by any meaningful deliberative calculus like logic or something.
I
So
imagine that those are the times when I kind of just zone out. I'm like, okay, okay, whatever you say.
well, it also happens with me when I'm telling my bedtime stories, for example. I'm getting late and I'm getting really tired, but I don't really want to quit streaming. But I'm just like, I don't feel like engaging with the chat anymore. I'll turn off the lights and I'll just make up a story all the way through. And usually, most of the time when I'm telling these bedtime stories, I'm making myself laugh as I'm telling the story because the things I'm saying and that are coming out of my mouth are surprising me too. Um, how does this happen? I don't know exactly, except that it's what it means to be extrovertedly intuitive. It's just like I can make up songs, lyrics, chords, words all at the same time on the fly. And what that means is, as a consequence, I am ignoring a lot of times what's the most relevant path to take. In other words, when I write a song carefully, it almost always comes out better than when I make it up on the fly. So why am I making up shit on the fly?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's just an example of too much fluidity. If I want to record a good rap song, the truth is I need to write it and do multiple takes and stuff. Even though freestyling might be impressive to people watching, it's of no real value as an art object. So in general, so that's an example of stuff being too ideationally fluid once it's in object form. Or like the Dave Matthews Band. I really don't like the Dave Matthews Band. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because they are too runny. That's to say, there's too many random ideas, and not enough central thesis.
Okay, the way you went from there then to Dave Matthews Band and all that, I guess that's any.
Yeah, I guess
Like,
that's ideational fluidity. But the thing is, I'm drawing from my SI, and I was thinking about this a lot. To be an extroverted intuitor means to be spending a lot of your time in introverted sensing. It's introverted sensing that's maximally attended to the introverted metaphysical field, or internal metaphysical field, rather than to the internal physical field. So my situation with SI is that it's constantly the slave of extroverted intuition. It's only keeping track of the stuff that's important to extroverted intuition, ideas, words, blah, 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 blah. Whereas it's not really keeping track of my body stuff well enough, like eat food more, sleep more, maybe smoke a little bit less.
hmm.
So
Okay.
yeah, uh, the extroverted intuition part is just it's an overarching valuing of deviance from the norm and of disparate associations rather than obvious ones. Like you may hear in songs sometimes, like, um, yeah, baby, baby, this is your song. I'm gonna love you all night, and you just know it's gonna say long, right?
Hmm.
But instead it says strong, just to be different. And you go, oh, that's gimmicky. Oh, I wish they hadn't done that. It's like there's a song I like called "Bang" by what was that? You know that song? Bang, 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 or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Bang, bang, bang.
yeah, and that song has lyrics like that where he tries to twist it up to surprise you, but it's done too cheap and easy like that, and then you just go like, yeah. So that's too much extroverted intuition in art, for my opinion. But of course, I don't think the original lyric should have been, you know, baby, baby, our love can't be wrong. Gonna love you all night long in the first place. But if you are gonna go with those lyrics, then just go with them.
Hmm. So, okay, so extroverted intuition, I guess, tries to anticipate what SI would produce, and then it tries uh, to defy it, I guess.
Now, it assumes it knows NI. So
Uh,
I assume I'm always right about what the obvious thing, baby, baby, our love so strong, I'm gonna love you all night long, is the obvious thing. I assume that that's a given for me. I don't have to think about it at all. I know what NI is. The fact is, much of the time, because I assume that, I don't notice it, don't pay attention to it, don't include it, etc. But the thing therefore I'm doing is saying, okay, instead of baby, baby, our love so strong, I love you all night long. I want to deviate from it, but I also want to deviate from the way people have deviated from it before. So I'm not going to deviate from it by changing long to wrong or strong or something like that. Instead, I'm going to maybe try to meta up and make it either like the whole song, nothing but lyrics like woman, child, baby, love you all night long, rock you till the morning light, rock you all while I'm strong. Like love you, with me, love you, dancing, love you, or whatever. So, just I try to make it go only those kind of lyrics. Or if it's going to be an authentic like FI song, then I want it to be. Then I'll probably bring in the SI. So it's like a song like to distinguish between SI and NI. I have this song that's about about a life partner, the first chunk of it is specific to me. You come outside, your arms are folded, I'm getting scolded for playing again. But almost the whole rest of it is all sort of universals. Like, uh, I want your belief, you want my attention. That's kind of a universal uh, relationship dynamic thing. It doesn't necessarily, did apply to me, but it wasn't just applying to me. So that's a good way to distinguish between like SI and NI. Mostly, my writing and my songwriting stuff is more NI than SI because I don't have FI, which means I don't understand the important experiences of my own life as being important generally, so they don't prompt me to write things. Unless it's dramatic fight. Like, I had a big fight one night and I wrote this song called My Share of Shame in which I detail, when you pulled that stunt, I screamed, "You're a worthless cunt," which I did in the actual reality. But she was really, this is not very atypical of me, okay? I am not somebody who speaks harshly to other people. But this woman had driven me insane. And I just had to scream that. I'm like, "You worthless cunt!" Anyway, and that made it into a song because that's enough emotion at that point that it bursts overflowing and makes it into a song. But generally speaking, I don't include my own emotions or experiences so much because extroverted intuition is fundamentally valuing the universal, not the particular.
Okay, so FI values the particular, right?
Yes. So one other thing about FI is if I ask you a general question about values, FI DOMs will typically have a difficult time answering those because they understand that they can't really know or decide what they feel about something until they link to it via actual their own attachment, so to speak, their own degree of preciousness. FI, you might say, is investing preciousness into something, whether it's a person, an animal, activity, outcome, or whatever. When you invest preciousness into something, you're saying, if this is lost, I will hurt.
I see. That makes sense.
Yeah. So if you're FI polar, then when you get divorced, you go, "Whew, that hassle's over," and then like 2 months later, you go, "Boo!"
Yeah, like I have a roommate situation right now. Because California living is expensive. And yeah, I consider my roommates to be pretty precious. They can be frustrating sometimes. It can be kind of hard to work with them, but I wouldn't want to just up and leave either. So I guess
Do you say to them, "You're my precious ally"?
no.
That's what they say in anime, something like that. You're my precious kuhai. I could not possibly leave you behind.
Kohai, which
Cool.
means like lower classmen, I think.
Yeah, underclassmen. Yeah, something like that. Kuhai. I knew Senpai whatever would save us. Yeah. I've been watching so much anime lately. Do you like anime?
I do. I like some.
What?
Though one thing is I notice is that I never have a big collection where I'm like always keeping up with the latest trends. There's always like some things that I really like and other things that I'm like completely indifferent about.
What's an anime you like?
One I've liked lately is uh, I've liked Demon Slayer a lot lately. Another one I've been watching lately is Detective Conan, which I really
I've
like
never
too.
heard of that. Demon Slayer I've heard of. Does it have a longer name than just Demon Slayer? It's like Demon Slayer colon something?
Kimetsu no Yaiba. It's the one where that guy's sister gets turned into a demon.
Huh. I don't know if I've watched that one or not. It sounds really familiar, but I don't think I've watched it.
But Detective Conan, you'll like the main character, I think, is ENTP.
Oh yeah.
So, but it was actually kind of like that detective thing you mentioned. Me, though, I often have a hard time figuring out the answer.
Well, for that one, there's no answer, right? The scenario is designed to make it so there's no clear reason to think anything in particular. You know,
Right.
it's like you didn't. What happened was you didn't pay your bill at the butcher, and you every month go in there and you get yourself 10 pounds of chicken. Now the butcher, um, your door was locked, but your back door was open, and he went to the back door and he nailed those chickens to your wall, and he installed that mirror in your bathroom. Why? Because he's going to follow up with a letter that says, "Look in the mirror, buddy. You owe me $17.80 for chickens."
It sounds almost like something that you would see on Detective Conan. This is so out of left field. It's ridiculous.
You know, I don't know. The thing is, I didn't have any answer for it when I asked the question. I didn't have an answer for it at all until just right now when I just demonstrated what an alternate answer would be, I guess. Um, it's it's uh, it's interesting because ISFPs and I typically we get along great, and you wouldn't think so given we have each other's polars as our dominants. But um, it's the thing is it's an absolute value. We have the same absolute values. So FI is an absolute value for me. FI is an absolute value for you. NE is an absolute value for me. NE is an absolute value for you. And then you have NI absolute value, and FE absolute value, absolute value. So we have the same values. So it's like I guess that's why ISFPs come and have me type them and or watch my shit, even though it seems like too many words. They would just be like too many words.
Okay. But yeah, but I guess the conflicting things, I guess though, when the relationship gets closer and you start having to working with a lot of details, that's probably when the conflicts arise, right?
Right. Well, I've always noticed that, unlike almost every other type, I don't seem to have much problem keeping an appropriate distance from ISFPs. It's probably ISFP's skill doing that. ENTPs have a lot of difficulty understanding what appropriate intimacy distance is between people, like and what you're conveying to people about that stuff. Like people will sometimes think that I've got beef with them, and I got no idea what the fuck they're talking about. People will sometimes think, but I thought you were that guy's friend. I thought you really liked that guy. And I'm like, that guy? So, I mean, I don't know. It's like I close the distance faster than you normally would, unless you are intending to be closer to the person than perhaps I am, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of FI polar thing, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, because FI deals with relationships, right?
Yeah, it does. So it's like in my relationship with Rachel, we're both backslot FI, which means that we spend much of our time worrying about whether the other person's going to be annoyed with something we're doing, even though they're thinking they're doing that too. So there's no reason for either of us to do it. That's FE 6-7. It's like we're accustomed to the other person being more FI than us, knowing what they want from us, expecting things from us, telling us that we're failing to meet their expectations, and us scrambling to meet them until we get pissed off. Because we don't value FI, and we don't really know what we want, and so we assume we're just going to get told that we're doing things wrong again, you know? And it's hard to defend against if you don't have FI in the front. If you do have FI in the front, you are well equipped to defend against people saying you're doing something wrong. If you know authentically that you're not, then you're just going to be endlessly stubborn about it.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see that too. especially at home. I noticed that sometimes there can always be like a misunderstanding or something like that, and they'll tell me I'm doing something wrong, but when we hash it out and I say the magic words, they figure it out.
Are the magic words "fuck you"?
No, no, no. It's like one example would probably be when I was getting ready to graduate from college.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the second to last semester, and like my advisor had told me to go to like the graduate advisor, to prepare for graduation. I'm like, but I just go up there. I didn't even mention them. I'm just like, hey, I'm getting ready to graduate next month. I meet all the requirements, or not next month, but next semester. And then they're like, oh well, you're supposed to have this, you're supposed to have that. You need to make sure to check that and stuff like that. I'm like, huh? This is different from what my advisor told me. And then I'd be like, well, I'm here because my advisor told me to come here. And those were like the magic words.
Oh,
And that let the whole process proceed. Just mention the person that told me that.
that's shame on them for that. Shame on
No,
them.
right.
You know, it's like this isn't something real. This is a bunch of hoops you got. Oh, you jumped through the right hoop. Oh, well, you didn't tell me you jumped through the right hoop. Of course, you can graduate now. If,
No, right.
if Dr. Stevenson signed it, then you doesn't matter. If Dr. Stevenson didn't sign it, you're not qualified. If he did, you are.
Uh, no, right.
It's a bunch of education theater, is what it is.
Yeah, a lot of bureaucracy. I hate bureaucracy.
I freaking hate it too. Any other thoughts, queries, questions, concerns, complaints, quandaries, or qualifiers?
Uh, well, I think I'm pretty satisfied with the ISFP typing. Um, and I don't really have any reservations about it. Um, so not in particular. I think you've answered all my questions about it.
Cool. Thanks. If you have follow-up questions, please don't hesitate to email them to me, and I will make a video answering them.
Awesome.
Either a public one if they're questions that I think are generally applicable, or if they're just specific to you, then I will just make a short video reply and email to you.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay,
I,
cool. Thanks.
Eric,
And I'll publish this in a little bit, okay?
sure. Yeah, I actually really appreciate that because the last time we did it, we didn't get published, but I like being able to always go back and look through things, and that way I can always make sure the points are
I'm
clarified.
glad we didn't get published last time if I typed you as an ISTP, because people would say, Eric, you don't know what you're doing. All right, so it'll be up in a little bit.
Okay, sounds good. I look forward to seeing it. All right, I appreciate it, Eric.
Bye. Thank you.